next episode of Shivananda Vani, Spiritual Talks of Mahapurush Maharaj Swami Shivananji. The English version is called For Seekers of God. So let's see what we are going to do today. Today we have Reminiscences of Swami Vivekananda. The place is Bombay and time is January 30th, 1927. The 65th birthday anniversary of Swami Vivekananda was observed in the local Sri Ramakrishna ashram with lots of cheer. The main feature of the celebration were worship, reading from scriptures, devotional music, and feeding of devotees and Daridra Narayans, that is, the poor. The joy of the occasion was increased 100-fold by the presence of Mahapurushji. After the evening services, the sannyasin and the brahmacharis gathered in his room and expressed their desire to hear from him about Swamiji, that is, Swami Vivekananda. He related briefly about his first contact with Swamiji, how they had spent their days together at the Kashipur garden house in the service of the Master, about the establishment of the monastery at Baranagar and other such events. Then a monk asked him, Maharaj, were you and Swamiji together during the days of the wandering? Mahapurushji, yes, sometimes I was with him and sometimes we met by chance during those days. Once I set out with Brahmachari Haran for Varanasi to visit the place of pilgrimage in the western Himalayas. When we were at Hathras on our way to Vrindavan, we heard that Swamiji was there at the house of a railway officer. Swamiji was then suffering from fever, so we went to see him. He was greatly delighted at this unexpected meeting. I cannot give you any idea of the way he cut jokes with us, related many incidents merrily and full of humor, and expressed great joy at everything. In spite of his high temperature, the fever left him after 3 days, but it made him very weak. He asked us to finish our pilgrimage to Vrindavan. It was planned that after this we should go with Swamiji to Rishikesh, for we expected that we would be all right at that time. Haran and myself went to Vrindavan, where he spent a few days happily. In Vrindavan, just an ordinary place of pilgrimage, is it? It is the place where the Lord Himself disported. The spiritual atmosphere of the place is unique. From Vrindavan, we went to Shyamakund and Radhakund. Once on the way, when Haran left his baggage in a place and went a little distance to ease himself, it was stolen. All the money that we both had was supposed to be in my possession, but Haran had kept a 10-rupee note separately in that bundle. The loss caused him great pain. He became very miserable. When we met Swamiji later, he was greatly amused at the incident and made a lot of fun about it. After visiting all the important places in the Vrindavan, we returned to Hathras. We found that Swamiji was again in bed with fever, and his temperature was very high. Through continuous suffering from fever, he had become extremely weak and emaciated. So we decided not to stay there any longer, but to take him down to Calcutta. He also agreed. Accordingly, letters were written to Calcutta and to the Baranagar monastery. But the people of Hathras would not so easily agree to let Swamiji go. Many of the railway officers and men of position in the town had become very devoted to him. Such was his nature that wherever he went, he created an intimate circle of friends around him. Anyone talking with him, even casually, became charmed. Such was his personality. I had to plead with them quite a long time. At last, when they agreed, I borrowed some money from a high official and started with Swamiji for the mutt. At this, Haran became very displeased with me. Why should I not go to Haridwar with him? That was his grievance. He went on telling me, "You have become a monk. Why should you have so much Maya, that is, personal attachment? It is absolutely necessary that you should accompany Swamiji. It is not good for a holy man to be so much under the sway of Maya," and so on and so forth. I then told him, "Well, brother, know for certain that we have renounced the world. It is also true that a monk should not have attachment for any people, for any person either. Still, we have some attachment for our brother disciples, and it is going to remain. We have learned this from the Master himself. It is he who has kept his personal relationship among us brother disciples. As for Swamiji, he is a crest jewel. We shall feel thankful if we can but serve him even with our heart's blood. How can you ever understand what Swamiji is? That silenced him altogether. With the help of the friends at Hathras, I arranged for Haran's departure for Rishikesh. They themselves purchased a ticket for him to Rishikesh and saw him off at the station. So I started for Calcutta with Swamiji. But Niranjanananda, as soon as the news of Swamiji's illness reached the mutt, had started for Hathras. Perhaps our trains crossed in Allahabad without our knowing the whereabouts of each other. When we reached the mutt, we consulted Dr. Bipin Ghosh, and it was under his treatment that Swamiji fully regained his health. Then, after moving about here and there for some time, Swamiji went to Rishikesh for spiritual practices with some of us brother disciples. There, the days and nights were spent in intense austerity, spiritual practice, and discussions on Vedanta. Swamiji would say that he had never before had such joy in his life. It was the rainy season then. At that time, other monks seldom stayed there, and the only place to be dependent on was the chhatra, a place where food is distributed freely to the monks. In those days, Rishikesh was really an ideal place for spiritual practices. Now the place has turned into a small township. After some days had been spent thus in spiritual practice and Vedantic discussions, amidst great joy, Swamiji was laid up with fever. Hari Maharaj, that is Swami Turyanand, Sharat Maharaj, Swami Sardanand, and some other brother disciples were with Swamiji. The fever began to increase, but there was no physician near the place, neither an allopath nor a Kaviraj. So all of them became very anxious about him. One day it so happened that when the temperature began to drop after a steep rise, Swamiji's body became cold like ice. The pulse almost stopped, and only the head was somewhat warm. He could not talk, and there was no hope of life. All were at their wits' end, and they began to pray to the Master in great distress. "Master, do please save us from this calamity. Do please bring Naren around. Or if you choose to take Naren away, then take us too along with him." All were in agony, and yet they were helpless. One of the brother disciples had gone down to the Ganga where an old monk was bathing. He, that is the old monk, belonged to those parts and lived there always. He asked the brother disciple, "Why do you look so sad?" In answer, he described Swamiji's condition in full. Then the monk came to Swamiji, examined him thoroughly, and said, "You need not worry. I shall give you a medicine which you should grind with a little people powder and honey and apply it to his tongue. You will soon find him reviving." Saying this, he returned to his hut and gave some medicine that looked like ash. The other ingredients were also procured, and after pasting them properly as directed by the old monk, the medicine was applied to Swamiji's tongue. Strangely enough, soon after it was administered, Swamiji's body began to warm up and he felt much better. When Swamiji heard the whole incident from others, he complained, "Why did you take the trouble of administering that medicine? I was in a state of great joy." When Swamiji had recovered a little, it was decided that it was not proper to stay on at Rishikesh after and during the rains, when malaria was so rampant. So it was settled that they should shift elsewhere. But Swamiji was still so weak that it became a problem as to how to remove him from there. At that time, the ruling prince of Tehri Garhwal came down there on some business. Sri Raghunath Shastri, brother of Sri Haraprasad Shastri, the well-known historian, was then the private secretary of the ruler of Tehri. When he was told of this predicament, he arranged for a bullock cart from Rishikesh to Hardwar. After spending some days at Hardwar, Swamiji came down to Meerut, where also his brother disciples gathered around him. Meerut is a very healthy place. Swamiji regained his health after staying there for 2 or 3 months. There he said one day, "I have had a valuable experience this time. Henceforth, I shall not live with my brother disciples. I shall live alone. How very worried you all were at my illness. You had all gone there for spiritual practice, but in fact, my illness kept you all busy. Next time, if any one of you falls ill, I shall have to serve you all the more." Love for brother disciples is also a kind of bondage. I have to cut as unders that as well. He actually did what he said. From then on, he moved about the whole India without any companion. Nobody knew his whereabouts till he left for America. Then a monk asked, "Were you present at the Belur Mutt when Swamiji left his body?" Mahapurushji, "No, I was not then at the mutt." Some 10 or 12 days earlier, Swamiji had very earnestly persuaded me to go to Varanasi to start some Vedanta work. I reached Varanasi at the end of June for that work. When Swamiji went to Varanasi for the last time, I was also with him. At that time, the Maharaja of Binga, that is, this place which is gave him 500 rupees at the disposal of Swamiji for starting an institution for propagating Vedanta at Varanasi. The Maharaja loved and respected him very much. In his old age, having renounced his princely state, he built a garden house at Varanasi and lived there as a vanaprastha. He would not stir out of his compound. When we heard of Swamiji's stay at Varanasi, he sent a messenger to him with fruits and sweets to invite him very respectfully to his house. He informed Swamiji through that messenger that as he had taken a vow not to move out of his house, it would not be possible for him to pay his respects personally to Swamiji. The Maharaja's humility pleased Swamiji very much, and he said, "We are monks. Why should I not go when he invites? I shall certainly go." Accepting the Maharaja's invitation, Swamiji went to his house. I too accompanied him. The Maharaja received him very respectfully and took him inside the house. In the course of the talk, he said, "I have been following your activities for a long time, and this has given me great joy. Your ideal is very high. I think you have come down to this world like Buddha, Shankara, and others to establish dharma on this earth again. It is my heart's prayer that your plan should succeed fully. In order that some such activity might be started in Varanasi also, he offered to pay 500 rupees to Swamiji. But Swamiji did not accept it at that time. He said that he would think over the matter and would do the needful in due course. Nevertheless, the Maharaja sent the amount to Swamiji after a few days and requested him to start some work in Varanasi. And Swamiji then accepted the gift. After his return to the mutt at Belur, Swamiji first asked Swami Shardanand to proceed to Varanasi, but he would not agree. He said, "Varanasi will not suit me." So Swamiji kept on pressing me to go to Varanasi. Swamiji's health was very bad at that time. His diabetes had increased. I used to arrange for his medicines and take general care of his head. But his health was still deteriorating. Because of this, I could not make up my mind to leave that task and go there. When he recovered a little, he sent me to Varanasi, a monk. About the home services at Varanasi, Master Mahashay, that is Mahendranath Gupta or M, used to say, "Just see how much of a push the home of service has got from the spiritual endeavors of Swami Shivananda." Mahapurushji, oh no, not at all. All is achieved through his will and through his grace. So how is everything achieved? Through his will and through his grace. The Master's messenger will spread more and more days as you can see as the time goes by. That is the inevitable course that the message for this age will take. For instance, look at Bombay. Where there was nothing in the beginning, and now things are proceeding apace. Look at the pace at which everything is proceeding now. Much more is bound to be accomplished in due course. It is all his Leela. When the topic turned to devotional music of the Parsi lady who was a devotee, he remarked, "It is really with great devotion that she sings the song, Mere to Giridhar Gopal, dusara na koi." And saying this, he began to sing the song himself. So today we heard about Swamiji. Hope you all enjoyed today's reading. Stay tuned to Devakshar. Do like and share our videos. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel if you already haven't. Thank you so much for being with us. Namaskar.